Cardinals franchise quarterback Kyler Murray is doing franchise quarterback things abroad in South Korea and locally here in AZ, but he's still got one massive box to check, Johnny Venerable.
Yeah, speaking of checking the boxes, the national writers are out and they're embarrassing themselves with recent mock drafts. Time to take out the trash. It's PHNX Cardinals live. Hey, welcome in. Live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier #1 Arizona Cardinal podcast in the world. Like and subscribe, leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. I'm Johnny Venerable here on a Football Tuesday, joined by my co-host, Brack in Studio K. Sweet baby dame off today. Shane Diefenbach, sweaty boy behind the mic today, fired up for this show.
What did you just call me?
Sweaty boy.
Why am I sweaty?
I don't know. Why are you?
Come on, man. He's the host of the show. If he calls you sweaty boy, that's
You're
what
right,
you
you're
are,
right.
right?
Maybe our friends at Mando can hook you up.
It's the theater of the mind. And if Johnny wants to paint that picture of a drenched in sweat Shane Diefenbach.
Yeah, I'm going to have to consult my primary care doctor and figure out what's going on.
God forbid I call Shane sweaty after he dragged me through the mud over numerous vlogs during Combine Super Bowl season.
Yeah, because he forced you to do and say all the things that you did on all those vlogs. But what's up, everybody? Mikey, I see you. Tim Schaff was the first, I think, to make his attendance known today's chat. Justin Grillo shot second. We've got Han shot first. Ozzy, Mike Mayer. Kabuzi baby. How about Bonnie Broxerable, Pedro, AZbro 95, Googsy, Alberto E, the whole squad.
This is my favorite comment though. 1:18 p.m. Where is the emergency pod for Dumacage signing with the Giants? Where was that, guys? Do we not love the grind anymore?
I mean, we do love the grind. We did foreshadow a little bit with Victor Dumacage and his thank you AZ tweet yesterday that shook me to my core. And I've been a little bit down in the dumps. Shane, I asked people for, my privacy in these tough times, and just picking up the pieces. There it is. Victor Dumacage. Thank you, AZ. I can't believe people are like, does this mean he's coming back?
Cardinals couldn't add more external bodies to his position group. And people are like, he's coming back. He's a must re-sign.
So Dumacage makes it official with the New York Giants, and Giants fans rejoice. They believe, is this the successor to Azeez Ojulari? It's like, is he? He's been shut out in sacks in 3 of his 4 professional seasons. But you got a good guy on teams. You got a good depth piece there.
I'm going to tell everybody right now, I'm dropping a new mock draft here on the YouTubes, and I've got a day 3 edge rusher that perfect to replace Victor Dumacage. I might have even name dropped him in my mock draft. So be on the lookout for that. I'm on the lookout for this. Kabuzi baby. He's a diehard. How about that?
Yes, let's go. Kabuzi baby. Locked in as a diehard. Hopefully he took advantage of that smoking deal last week. It was $36, but if you didn't, look, it's still well worth its weight in gold. You get a t-shirt of your choice, $34.99. That pays for it, cuts it in half. Or you can get a nice little cap, whatever you like from the merchandise locker. We love it, and we love that Kabuzi is our latest diehard. And everybody that joined, hundreds that joined PHNX diehards last week.
Everybody drop a like on this video. So much to talk about. We got a jam-packed show here on a Football Tuesday. Welcome all of our friends, our diehards, and of course, welcome to the conversation that continues in free agency. There was a blurb on Asante Samuel we're going to get to later in the show. I think that really just calls into question the status of his health and stingers that apparently could be prevalent in both shoulders. But we're going to talk about Kyler Murray to kick things off, shouldering the blame for the Arizona Cardinals, Brack. He is making his presence known on and off the field. He is visiting his home country, his family's home country on his mother's side in South Korea, and doing numerous hits, meeting with young kids, meeting with football savants, people in the know over there, doing a tremendous job spreading, as you mentioned yesterday, spreading the gospel of what it takes to be a franchise quarterback off the field, something that I think a lot of us have never questioned from Kyler Murray.
Right. No, and being a global ambassador for the game of football, right? And being an international, athlete here and potential budding star is somebody that, was huge as far as the number one draft pick, Heisman Trophy winner, guy that was selected in the top 10 and 2 professional sports league drafts. Somebody like Kyler Murray with all the skill set and things that you would want from somebody that, reps, his own brand and much more than that. A Nike athlete, for him to kind of go back to his roots here on his mother's side and be able to kind of tap into that for the first time, from what I understand of in his life, go over there to South Korea and, have host a football camp, get more interest in the game over there. Also talk to some, TV stations, radio stations over there and kind of see what that's all about and introduce himself to, a portion of the world that's not as privy to the National Football League as we are in Kyler Murray and Arizona Cardinals football. So I think it's, as I mentioned at the very top of the show, the tip top was, this is the kind of stuff that franchise quarterbacks do. This is not something that, we've seen Kyler Murray, put himself, he's not necessarily like thrusting himself into the spotlight, but this is something that comes with Kyler Murray. Is when he goes on a trip, obviously there's going to be people, tugging at him, trying to get him to talk to him. And he's given some insight as far as where he wants to go with this organization, which we've heard over and over. He's reiterated this and also gotten into his shortcomings as far as the frustrations from this previous season and being in the playoffs just once in his 6 years. So, Kyler Murray, I think, showing the proper amount of accountability, but also the amount of conviction and confidence that you want from that guy, where it's just like you can only take so much of the lip service. And I don't say that as like a negative.
No.
To the extent to where you just need to see it this year.
There's nothing he's going to be able to say or do this offseason it's going to change the perception of people who are out on Kyler Murray. And this show is not out on Kyler Murray as a guy that can take you to the postseason, maybe even win you the NFC West. But the bar has been set. He was a franchise quarterback making the postseason and then has had a 3-year absence from the playoffs. Can he return this year? What's on his plate? Let's take a look at some of his comments here, if we could, Shano. This is from a local station, I believe KBS Korea, where he made these comments in a sit-down interview. And we're paraphrasing some of it, but just reads, "My main focus is getting to the Super Bowl and winning it, not only for the organization, but the fans and the people that believed in me, my teammates, everybody." And then blanket statement, "I haven't done enough. My main goal is to bring a Super Bowl to the state of Arizona." And he's got a lot of good comments. I encourage everybody, seek out the video if you're able to. But the part that jumps out to me, because he's talked about it before, like how much it would mean to win a championship here, no Lombardi trophies to speak of for this franchise, hell, longest professional championship drought in pro sports. But to have full context of, I haven't done enough for us to win. I mean, like, even his harshest critics, like, what more do you want him to say? Like, I get it. You're frustrated with his performance, as are we late in the year. Maybe you're frustrated with his size or with his leadership style. But, I mean, how often do you hear guys come out and be this transparent, like, this is on me. It's not on Marvin Harrison Jr. or Trey McBride or Paris or JG or whomever. Like, we were 6-4 and didn't make the playoffs. We were 2-5 down the stretch. I got swept by Geno Smith. We finished after starting strong in the NFC West with a whimper. I mean, I don't know if he can get it done this year. I'm hopeful, but this is the stuff I want to hear him say leading into a pivotal year, Bo.
Right. And it's not like a woe is me. Like, no. Hey, I don't have the tools to get to where I want to go. It's just like, I haven't been good enough. And a lot of people like Patrick Peterson, we remember, like, The only person that K1's concerned about is K1. And, some of those things that have followed Kyler Murray for so long, fair or unfair.
Yeah.
I think some of that, especially what Peterson said, unfair. But, to get to this point, in a credit to the organization and also credit to Kyler Murray to getting to this organization to continue to buy into him and have, as JG says, like the conviction in him to be their starting quarterback and have the skill set to know, like, where JG, we're talking to him just a couple weeks ago. He's like, he's going to have a hell of a year. I'm not going to make any power statements, but he's going to have a hell of a year. And he views that as, Gannon views that as, because a lot of people are like, what does that look like? It looks like Kyler Murray performing on a high level consistently for the bulk of the season. Instead of the first 10 weeks of the season, the Cardinals are 6-4. Kyler Murray's taking care of the football. He's running well. He's accurate with the ball. And then things kind of just, when they come back from the bye week, things just kind of unravel and fall apart down the stretch of the season. Like, kind of look at it as a 50-50 split right now. That's why Mina Kimes broke it down. You got to get it, somewhere operating around 75-80% clip during the regular season, because if you do, you're going to be a playoff team more likely than not.
Well, and I think, like, for those of us that are out there that are critical, we still understand. I mean, what is he, 27 years old?
Yeah.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, there are desperate teams out there trying to squeeze every ounce out of those worn out quarterbacks that are not worth the headache, have not won anything as of late. I understand people who are like, enough's enough. Let's get another quarterback. Who are you getting? And I also think, what if you bail on Kyler Murray a year too early and he does figure it out? Baker Mayfield style, Sam Darnold style, where the light comes on and you could be punting on another half decade of competitive playoff football. You're telling me, like, I'm sure that's run through Ossenfort's mind. Like, yeah, I'm not happy with how things ended, but I'm not ready to bail on a guy that went first overall for a reason. Like, you can never argue the skill set. It's actually one of my biggest critiques I make on the show is, like, I'm tired of hearing about the skill set, right? We want to hear about the winning, the accolades. But I would rather try my damnedest as a franchise to get every ounce of potential out of a guy who was drafted that high than to have to sell my soul for a Brock Purdy. Like, the NFC West right now, think about this. We should be entering a stage in Kyler Murray's career, peak of his playing powers, 27 years old, in a division with Sam Darnold on his fourth team, a 7th-round Brock Purdy, and an old Matthew Stafford. This should be Kyler Murray's time. And yet everybody this offseason, rightfully so, will pick the Cardinals 3rd or 4th in the division, will look and roll their eyes at their acquisitions. It's already started. Coward had them last, couldn't even speak to their moves, having cocktails with Steve Keim, whatever. Do what you want to do. Nothing's won in the offseason. This is like, you took this guy first. This is your time. And the Cardinals know that. And again, Gannon's comments to Bo and I on air, it's the same thing off air. It's infectious. It's contagious. I trust them and how they are choosing to handle this. And I'm on the record. I think they're going to win double-digit games next year. I think he's going to be better than he was in 2024.
Well, it's necessary, right? I mean, I don't think anybody would accept the status quo as far as the production from the quarterback position. Yeah. Not even the quarterback himself. Like, he's frustrated with it. Marvin Harrison Jr. is frustrated with, what he produced statistically in week in and week out in 2024. They want to take that to the next level. Like, they see the numbers. They see the lack of explosives in the passing game. They want to right those wrongs, with Petzing and Izzy Woolfolk and the addition of Jacoby Brissett and that being a sounding board and a bigger safety net behind Kyler Murray at the backup quarterback position and running it back. It really just, you got the plaid short meme, as far as the offense. I mean, that's what it is. But that's because they're leaning into the continuity. They're leaning into Kyler Murray. There's still belief that he can take them where they want to go offensively. But when you look at it all, like, now that's come together, like, the foundation is now in place. Like, there's no more excuses. There's nowhere to hide any longer. And I think that's, to an extent, in the competitor, I think Kyler would take that. I think Jonathan Gannon would take that. I don't think he wants anybody comfortable right now, especially with where they finished last year. And you can feel that, like that uneasiness. And it doesn't mean that they're going to overreact because, hey, we fell short of our expectations, but the hunger is still there. Now it's just like the roster's in place. It's been a slow build. It was a tear down. It was a rebuild. And now it's in a place to where, hey, this should be a team that we view as a playoff team. Now there's no excuses. You got to go for broke, push your chips to the middle of the table. And with that, you have to have performances led by Kyler Murray that are going to get you there from your stars.
You got to be in a position where you feel like every year you're a playoff team with him. Yeah. With this roster and the rebuild kind of coming to a head here, and you're putting an icing on this cake that you've baked for 3 off seasons, your window, we talk about San Francisco window imploding, and we celebrate and we applaud that happening. Cardinals should be opposite. Marvin, 2nd year, Trey McBride, 4th year, maybe highest paid tight end, Pro Bowl left tackle, Pro Bowl slot corner. Please God, get a Pro Bowl edge rusher / defensive lineman here in the next 12 to 18 months. Somebody come through. Like, there's your window. But it doesn't mean anything if you don't have the quarterback. Like, the Jets roster was set up for, remember everybody slobbering all over the Jets roster the last 2 years entering the season? What happened to that, right? Your window closes fast. You waste guys' primes quickly when you screw around with the quarterback position. And the Cardinals feel like they have quarterback stability right now. I mean, the big problem here, and we talk about this, and I'm not making excuses for anybody. The NFC West is such a gauntlet with the head coaches and historically the quarterbacks, but specifically the head coaches, the front offices, like the Rams, Niners, and Seahawks do not make boneheaded decisions. Like, we're laughing at the Seahawks. Like, John Schneider's probably going to the Hall of Fame. Kyler Murray has not been able to take advantage of the ineptitude of a Jacksonville Jaguar team or the New Orleans Saints now post Drew Brees and Sean Payton. Chicago Bears aren't in your division. Like, the Cardinals and Kyler Murray, he has been equipped with a franchise that has not been well led, and now you're in a division. It's like going to school with a bunch of scholars and your home life isn't great, and you're having to compete in the job market with those people. It's not going to go well for you, right? You have to be exceptional. I mean, you have to be Joe Burrow that can lift the poverty Bengals up, right? That's what we need Kyler Murray to be. Now, I think Cardinals are in a much better spot. I don't think much of Zach Taylor, but division with Ravens and Steelers historically, and then there's the Browns over here. Like, there are no easy outs in the NFC West.
No, there's not. Like, and you didn't set yourself up for consistent success. There was the boneheaded remarks like, we're never rebuilding. Even when they went back-to-back years taking a quarterback in the first round, which usually would point to, okay, that's the first sign of a rebuild. But they just went and they leaned into overpaid, over-the-hill veterans. And, yeah, you could sprinkle in like a splash move here and there. You get DeAndre Hopkins and you get, JJ Watt, but like really, as far as Steve Keim's rosters post Bruce Arians, like it was just slapping lipstick on a pig, man. Yeah. Like there wasn't much to it. Like, and once you got past the stars on that, there was no depth there. And I think what they've really done, and a credit to Monti Ossenfort, is he's really laid a solid foundation and you can look at it as far as where you perceive like their biggest holes now. And it's like, okay, they finally addressed the defensive front seven. They have an ability, and we'll talk about this later, to address it even more so in a very talent-rich draft. And what that would do defensively, how it would be able to work hand in hand with its franchise quarterback and creating more opportunities. Because even with the inconsistencies last year, there still was, in like, you can look at the time of possession, all that, there just wasn't as many opportunities to run offense. It was like you get 3 or 4 a half. And then if you turn the ball over, you just put yourself even further back. You just had zero margin for error. And I think creating a margin for error for a quarterback with the skill set of Kyler Murray just gives you the ability to take advantage of that.
I mean, this team on paper is going to have the best roster he's had since 2021. And coincidentally, that they made the postseason that year. And the NFC West, as much as I just lauded it, it's not impenetrable. Like Kyler Murray plays his style of football, Cardinals are going to compete for the division once again. Can they finish the job? They're going to need help, as Bo mentioned, via the NFL draft. 2 national writers took to task a mock draft. Cardinals, national scene, it's never been more disconnected. Wait till you see these dumpster fire picks. That's coming up. It's PHNX Cardinals. What's the opposite of a dumpster fire? I don't know. Riding in style with our friends at Waymo, right? If Waymo was a mock draft, it would be, I don't know, Mason Graham falling to pick 16. That'd be Waymo for your boy. But don't take my word for it. They do 150,000 trips per week across San Fran, Los Angeles, and Phoenix. The fully autonomous ride-hailing service consists entirely of all electronic Jaguar I-Pace vehicles, providing a consistent zero-emission experience for all their riders. And again, like I love people. I'm a people person. Love making small talk. Sometimes, though, I just want to disassociate. I want to get some work done. I want to be on my phone. I don't want to talk to you. This is perfect. Waymo was the first company to serve as a fully autonomous ride with no human behind the wheel in 2015. Since then, they've got 40 million miles of real-world driving experience. That's enough to drive to the moon and back 80 times. All you got to do, download the Waymo app today and right on, Bo.
Being an Arizona sports fan can be stressful. Look, I mean, we all know that. We've been following these teams for years, but selling your home doesn't have to be. Not when you have Carol Royce and her team of agents on your side. That's right. The Carol Royce team, your home sold guaranteed realty, the Valley's fan favorite real estate team. Look, it's tough to get into this market. You have so many questions, far more questions than answers. Why not take the guaranteed route with Carol Royce? Give her a call today at 480-776-5231. That's 480-776-5231. Connect with her team that's sold over 12,000 homes across the Valley. And while most agents make promises, Carol Royce and her team makes written guarantees that if she doesn't get 100% of your market value, she's going to pay you the difference so you're coming out on top no matter what with Carol Royce and her team. It's time to sell your home. Make the smart play. Call Carol Royce, 480-776-5231. If you just have questions about the market, Carol came into the office here at PHNX Studios and answers so many questions about the real estate market, and people, they came away feeling so much better about it. So don't just kind of sit on your hands. If you've got something, just throw it the way of Carol Royce and her squad, 480-776-5231 or carolroyceteam.com. That's carolroyceteam.com. Terms and conditions, they apply.
Everybody drop a like on this video, creeping up to 600 live. Let's keep those numbers going here. Cardinals keeping their free agent numbers at a stagnant, about 10 additions thus far, both external and re-signings. Haven't made a transaction since last week. Again, the Asante Samuel.
For one.
Yeah, I am. And we all are. Asante Samuel came to visit the Cardinals. I did pull this excerpt. A lot of people are wondering what's with his market. We know what he's asking for. He wants a multi-year deal. He wants security. I can't confirm what the Cardinals offered, but this is from the Athletics' Dan Popper, which was cited in a Bleacher Report article talking about the reluctancy potentially with Asante Samuel. According to Daniel via The Athletic, the ailment affected both of Asante Samuel's shoulders. So he had stinger symptoms during the season, and so he only played 4 games. We knew that, and I think that speaks to a lot of the concerns folks have about why wasn't he tackling people head on? Well, both of his shoulders seem to have stingers. So per Popper, the ailment is something Samuel was, quote, born with, which could lead to ongoing concerns. And so we talked about it at nauseum with Josh Sweat, where people were like, this guy's got a degenerate knee. But the difference is Sweat has played consistently since he was drafted, right? He doesn't miss practices. He's played in damn near every game. Whereas Samuel, if this was something that was flagged coming out of Florida State or early in his career, and now it's oh no, is this kind of the end here? Which hopefully it's not. I think there's an understanding right now that teams are reluctant to commit to him. I'm still shocked he hasn't taken more visits, though.
No, I mean, it is a gigantic red flag. I mean, the defensive player who's got a history of stingers that he's, basically developed at birth. It seems like it's the path to becoming an NFL player is is not exactly the traditional. I mean, I understand his father was a Super Bowl champion and played at a high level for both the Patriots and the Eagles, and he was a second-round pick, big-time college football player at Florida State himself, and had a good start to his career. His first 3 seasons, you take Asante Samuel on any roster, right? But now you're dealing with this issue that's a big concern across the board. I mean, you can see why there is reluctance to sign him. Like, at least the Cardinals doing their due diligence, bringing him in, having a conversation, getting the latest on where he is. But for him to be there in the final year of his rookie year, his contract year, his walk year, and not be able to get onto the field on a pretty ahead of schedule Chargers team, like that's concerning. So, with the Arizona Cardinals, I know they've got guys in that room, and we'll talk about the future of the cornerback position, not because we wanted to, because some analysts and experts are going to force us to do so. You don't have like the luxury of signing this guy and then him not being available. And that would be very against the grain as far as what the Cardinals like to do. Like, who under Monti Ossenfort have they signed that has an injury, is oft injured, and is been limited in the last few seasons that he's put on his roster?
No one. I can't think of anybody. I mean, the closest thing is Baron Browning was banged up before they traded for him, but that was a throwaway 6-rounder, and they were trying to salvage their pass rush. It doesn't happen. You had a great line that nobody's had a worse contract year than Hollywood Brown 2 years ago before he hit free agency. I mean, that's got some of this written all over him. What Hollywood Brown had to do, had to sign a 1-year deal. I think the Cardinals would like to sign Asante Samuel, obviously on their terms and their money. I think Asante Samuel Jr., like, if I was him, and again, I said this yet, why you sign with the Cardinals, if you can play 15, 16 games, up your value, hit the market again next year, he's the perfect prove-it deal kind of player. Because if he balls out and Byron Murphy did this on a similar deal, but it was a 2-year deal. He balled out for the Vikings and increased his value tenfold under Brian Flores, and now he cashed in with a mega deal this offseason. Byron Murphy and Asante Samuel Jr. were both second-round corners. So come here and listen, the Cardinals will pay you. If you ball out for Jonathan Gannon and are a fantastic player this year and play and are healthy, the Cardinals will extend him with a big money deal. But who's giving him that contract? People are like, Washington will do it. Chicago, no one's doing it. Nobody.
25 years old is a good age, right? And I think that the resume, it's got some really impressive things on it. And you can also say, hey, not only you get to prove it, you got some big physical receivers that don't reside in the NFC West any longer. DK Metcalf's playing in Pittsburgh. You got Deebo Samuel playing for Washington. Like, the days of this just having every other week you're facing somebody that's just a specimen, and that you don't want to, have them lower the shoulder into you, and especially if you've got issues with your own shoulders, that, and hey, you got Budda Baker flying around behind you. It might be conducive to somebody like Asante Samuel Jr., but at the same time, like, we've seen it with Monti Ossenfort. He's got his price. He's not going to budge in it. And he's just going to allow Asante Samuel to play this market out. And if the Cardinals, if he comes back to them, they've got somebody that, if can stay healthy, could be productive and fill a role for them.
But the Cardinals, if they're not signing Samuel, and this was my argument yesterday, they have to sign a veteran corner. They are going to sign a veteran corner. Who that corner is now is TBD. Could they be waiting for a player to become available via a trade? We've talked about Denzel Ward, Rasul Douglas. Where's his movement on his market, right? The market has really stalled for a lot of guys.
Yeah.
Like, we broke it down. Shane, let's see that best available defensive free agents one more time that we highlighted yesterday. I mean, like, we're sitting here, all these guys are still available. All these guys still want to play. Now, the defensive linemen are all older players, and they could be like Judon, Campbell, and Smith could be waiting until after the draft and seeing who doesn't, let's see where the chips fall. I mean, Kazir White's under 30. Rasul Douglas is still relatively young. Asante Samuel Jr., Mike Hilton, like, these guys are ready to contribute, health permitting. I think it's pretty crazy how this market is just kind of stalled here.
Yeah. A couple guys you can look at is Stephon Gilmore. He's not retiring yet. He played okay.
Yeah.
Didn't he last year? And was it
He's
Minnesota?
Old. I mean, he's really old. I mean,
Chidobe Awuzie,
34 is Stephon
Awuzie.
Yeah.
Was he in Tennessee last?
I mean, was he there when Ossenfort was there? How do you spell his name?
Chidobe, Chidobe.
So he was a second rounder in 2017.
Dallas, right?
Yeah, with the Cowboys. So he's bounced around. Last year, 1 forced fumble, a pick, and 4 passes defended. Only played in 8 games. He was with Cincinnati from 2021 to 2023 and started a lot for them. So he's been a consistent starter. I don't know what his situation was last year. Probably an injury. Never had more than 2 interceptions in a season. So, I mean, he's probably a rotational guy. But at this point, like, the Cardinals need to be kicking everything over to find another veteran to come in and help this secondary, Bo.
Times are tough out there on the free agent defensive back streets. You've got red flags all over these guys. It's Shaq Griffin. He's coming off a failed stint, Jacksonville, right?
Yeah. PFF pretty complimentary of Awuzie's run grade. Yeah, Awuzie, 80 last year. He's been a consistent like 60 to 65 to 70 player on PFF. That's not the end all be all. He's a better run defender than he is a cover corner. I mean, that's why you like, if Samuel's healthy, I mean, he's a true cover corner in its sense. Yeah. He can get his hands on the football. But like, if he tries to come up and run support in a division with big backs and somebody pops him on the shoulder and that's all she wrote, like, you're in trouble. 1-year deal, I would have no issue with that. 2-year deal, 2nd year, a void year, load him up this year. I think the Cardinals, this is an attractive marriage, assuming the physical is okay, which we do not know, and the money's right. But they need somebody that can take the ball away. They need a veteran corner who has seen some things in this league that they can count on. You just can't count on Sean Murphy-Bunting at this point.
Did James Bradberry ever resurface anywhere? I mean, I know like we'd be getting down to some. We're already in the trenches here as far as the free agent corners go. There is obviously a relationship with Gannon. It's 31. Like if things get really bad, do you go check in on James Bradberry?
I'm going to tell everybody right now, the conversation we're about to have on the 16th overall pick, give me one of these veteran corners over that reality. Like, let's get into it because we've teased it enough here. The mock drafts are flowing, which we love to see, mainly when it comes from our guy Fran Duffy at the All-City Network. But, Daniel Jeremiah has been a reasonable mock draft analyst as it relates to the Cardinals, right? Mel Kiper Jr. took care of us last year, MHJ pretty consistently. We're in no man's land at pick 16, and it's clear that these national guys are just not paying attention, Bo.
Yeah. Let's get into their picks next here on PHNX Cardinals.
Mock drafts right around the corner. How do you protect your corner? Or should I say your patio outside? How about All Pro Shades concepts? You ever been driving around, walking around, you see custom fit awnings, you're like, I would love those. I don't even know where to start. How about with our friends at allproshades.com, allproshadeconcepts.com. Extend your outdoor living space with a custom fit awning, hundreds of designs, colors to choose from. And this is the best part. We all have HOAs, right? They work with your HOA. They can find a color that works for you. Motorized, retract with a remote control. They've got LED lighting. And I'm told it keeps the patio up to 20 degrees cooler. That's a game changer, especially when it hits triple digits here in the desert. Again, durable fabric. It's ready for monsoon season. They can also replace and fix most outdated patio shades and motorized awnings. You want to keep what you have? Give them a call. They've got 20 years of business here in the Valley. They started making it by hand for friends and family in Phoenix. Now they're one of the largest installers of patio roll-down shades and motorized awnings in the Valley. Licensed, bonded, and insured. Call 623-204-1476 or visit allproshadeconcepts.com. Schedule your free estimate today, Bo.
Love it because they're so trustworthy. You love All Shade Pro Concepts. Also, you love what's going on with our friends over at Sanderson Ford. Very trustworthy sales staff over there that thrive on their no hassle, no pressure, no nonsense sales approach. It's truck month. celebrating us truck drivers. If you drive a truck, just raise your hand. Oh, not so fast, Johnny. This is our month. Check it out. Arizona's largest Ford dealership, Sanderson Ford, has hundreds of trucks on the lot, all of them marked down with big discounts for Truck Month. Choose from an entire lineup of Mavericks, Rangers, Ford F-150 trucks, and Super Duties. If you want more off-road capabilities, check out all the full-size Broncos and Bronco Sports marked down for Truck Month as well. All these examples save up to $11,000 on Ford F-150s, 1.9% financing. Great deal there. Save up to $4,500 on Bronco Sport plus 2.9% financing. 2024 models. Finance offers 36-month OAC through Ford Credit. Discounts include Ford rebates, Sanderson discounts, plus trade assistance and Conquest cash you must qualify for. Check them out. Sanderson Ford, sandersonford.com.
Everybody thinks I drive a Subaru, a Prius. That's interesting. I have a name that we haven't discussed. I think we've discussed it in the past. Via ESPN, the Green Bay Packers are still trying to trade disgruntled cornerback Jair Alexander. Famous alumni of where? Where did he go to school?
Louisville.
Where did Jonathan Gannon go to school? Louisville. Not the end-all be-all. And his contract is gross, and that's probably why everybody's like, just cut him, Green Bay, and then we'll take a look. Not nothing. Something I would explore. I have no idea if the Cardinals are interested. And again, his cap hit is high, and he's signed, I think, through 2026, 2027. So 28 years old. Maybe they're waiting for him to be cut. Maybe they're waiting for a player of that caliber to become available, because right now, you mentioned it is slim pickings out there. Would you call on Jair Alexander?
Sure. Maybe it becomes like a draft night type situation, where you obviously Monti Ossenfort wants to build through the draft. If he's able to maybe accumulate some more capital, wheeling and dealing in the draft, depending on what they do at 16, then they have a mini trade down. Does he do what he's done in back-to-back drafts and trade down in the second for more picks down the line? Could you get a guy like Jair Alexander, take on the contract, and it costs you like a late day 2 pick? Be interesting to see, like, if you can gain yourself another 3rd round pick or something like that and flip it. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, Ossenfort's resourceful. He's crafty.
He is. My only concern outside of the money is he's missed significant time the last 2 years. I just don't think. I think you probably get him for a day 3 pick at this point. I think maybe a 4th rounder.
Yeah, if you're taking on that deal.
Yeah, he's played 7 games in back-to-back years. So this is the part of free agency offseason where, like, you got to hope Max Melton develops. You got to hope Keitrell Clark, Sterling Thomas can get up to snuff. But a lot of moving parts. Let's talk. We've teased it enough about these mock drafts. Which dumpster fire do you want to tackle first, Bo Brack?
Let's talk with the guy that kind of paved the way for everybody else as far as the NFL draft and mock drafts. Mel Kiper Jr., MKJ. Him and that pompadour, what did he produce for the Cardinals in his
Todd.
Arizona Cardinals, 16th overall, and plenty of front 7 players on the board at the time. And Mel Kiper Jr. produces Will Johnson out of Michigan. This is Daniel Jeremiah's here. We got Will Johnson from Michigan. This is what Kiper's calling a value pick, because he had Johnson ranked 10th on his board. He might have been even higher, but he had a toe injury, not ended his season earlier. He had 9 career picks, always seemed to be around the football. Garrett Williams was impressive in the slot, and the Cards could stand to add on the outside while they are starting Sean Murphy-Bunting and Sterling Thomas. No mention of Max Melton there. Opponents completed 68.6% of their passes against the Cardinals in 2024, 4th worst for any defense. And the Cardinals were one of 9 teams with fewer than 10 interceptions this season, with just 9. So, damning little paragraph there, but I think it doesn't tell the true story there. With the lack of pressure up front, probably was the reason that I think these talented young cornerbacks were struggling to stay in coverage and gave up close to 69-70% completion percentage. Couldn't get their hands on a whole lot of footballs. There are a lot of open receivers that are tough to cover for too long in this league.
I mean, like, again, it's not the worst pick I've ever seen that's coming up, but I mean, there are plenty of pass rushers available now. For full context, Mike Green went ahead of the Cardinals at pick 15 to the Atlanta Falcons. Michael Williams, Georgia, went top 10. So did Jalen Walker. And, of course, Abdul Carter and Mason Graham are long gone. But everybody else, from Kenneth Grant to James Pierce Jr., Walter Nolan, they're all available, right? Shamir Stewart went just a pick after the Arizona Cardinals at 16. So I just, in that reality, like, you want to trade down, take one of those guys, right? Don't force a pick here. And again, it's not a knock on the kid, but the Cardinals they've flushed that room with enough young cornerbacks. Like, let's see what they have in Elijah Jones. We all expect, Max Melton, they drafted to be a number 1 corner.
Mm-hmm.
Garrett Williams is going to be paid a premium. Like, how many resources can you flush that position? By the way, that position group can't even flourish yet until you increase your front 7 production. So I would take Shamir Stewart ahead of him. I would take Derek Harmon, who's climbing up boards, ahead of him. Walter Nolan, I would take ahead of him. I'd probably take a right tackle ahead of him. Certainly James Pierce Jr., Kenneth Grant, and Walter Nolan. Like, I would take all those guys ahead of him. Not that he's a bad player.
Right.
He's just not a good fit for where the Cardinals are at. What would he play next year? About 30% of the snaps, maybe?
Right. It would look very similar to Max Melton. You also like have the Elijah Jones part of this equation. Like, you've got a numbers crunch in there. You're not just going to cast off the 3rd round pick just because he wasn't healthy in his first year for the Cards. They've got more than enough young corners that if they stay healthy, you can see what you have. And adding another one to the mix, I think that might be a little counterproductive, especially when you're looking for impact makers early in this draft. Like, yeah. I'm looking at 16 and 47, and I need guys that are going to make impacts on Sunday, help get this team, past the finish line here. So, Will Johnson, I'm with you. Talented prospect. Nobody can deny that. Value, you can talk about, like, value's all great. It's all well and good. We talk about it in fantasy football all the time, but if it's not going to, or value as far as taking a bet, like an underdog, but if you can't cash it, it doesn't matter. You have to be able, you can get plus 300, but if you lose, you're still a loser. So I just don't like, value is obviously in the eye of the beholder. And if you're the Arizona Cardinals, like, with as many front 7 players there that you could easily add to a rotation, where they've got 5 guys interior and then 5 guys on the outside coming off the edge that they rotate in and out. Like, I think you would be better served to get one of those front 7 guys, whether it's defensive line or edge.
Yeah, it just can, as AZ Cardinals in the chat, can Will Johnson rush the passer? He cannot. Now, here's where I'll give him a ton of love, is he's built like what I would take a top 16 corner as. He's 6'2", he's over 200 pounds. He's built like Patrick Surtain. He's long, he's physical. Like, I'm sure the Cardinals would love to have him, right? But you haven't banked enough credibility up front. If Azeez Ojulari had hit, or excuse me, BJ Ojulari and Darius had a monster rookie year, sure, do what you want to do. You got too many unknowns, brother, in that front 7 right now. Flush it, get better. Again, wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. We expect them to add at least 1 veteran corner before the draft. That room's already crowded enough. Mel Kiper Jr., I appreciate him just saying it's just a good value pick.
Sure.
Let's talk about Daniel Jeremiah.
But dressing it up with those stats where I feel like you can just poke holes immediately in those stats. Yeah. It's like, that's not, it wasn't because Garrett Williams was a bad corner. Actually, he analytically was one of the better corners, top slot corners in the league. And we liked what we saw from Starr and Max Melton. These guys aren't pushovers. You give them and you make a opposing quarterback pedestrian or below average, and they're going to be able to knock down some passes and break them up and get some interceptions, get their hands on some balls.
The secondary was good. How many times did we watch? And it was like, in certain instances, the Cardinals had to cover for like 7 to 10 seconds and they got stopped. So Mel, we'll give you a mulligan on this one, but no dice. Go with a front 7 player. Go with a trade down. Do not go with a cornerback. Do not go with this next position unit for the Arizona Cardinals. There it is. Daniel Jeremiah, who has been good historically, mocking players to the Cardinals. Gray Zabel, North Dakota State, interior offensive lineman. He's a guard. I think he's like my age potentially. There will be quite a few teams targeting Zabel in this area of the draft. Are you sure about that? He's had a great process from his final college season to the Reese's Senior Bowl. That scares me. They do love Senior Bowl players. to the NFL Scouting Combine. Let me preface this conversation with, I'm sure this kid's a good kid and a good prospect, right? I don't want to have this come out and be disrespectful to this young man that plays 1AA football.
Ooh, here we go.
What used to be 1AA football. If the Arizona Cardinals, in a pivotal year in which you need to make the playoffs, take an interior offensive lineman from North Dakota State, I will walk off our draft set in disgust. I will rip off my tie and belligerently stomp my way off the set in shame and disappointment at Monti Ossenfort. What in a pass rush SEC filled draft, and you can't sack me behind the line of scrimmage. I love guards. They need them. You're taking a guard, a non-premium player from a 1AA school to pick 16. We can't have that, Monty.
Johnny, can I sell you on this pick real fast?
No, you can't. You can try though.
What if the plan is to draft him so he's off the Seahawks board? Or would you want Seattle to draft him?
But what, like,
you think he's horrible?
No, I think that when you're in the position the Cardinals are in, you cannot afford taking 1AA guards at pick 16. Just like you can't take off-ball linebackers at pick 16 from Tulsa. With all due respect, you can't do it. You can't take tweener linebackers from Washington State in Dayon Buchanan. You can't take ACC, no positions in the top 10 and Isaiah Simmons. That, like, this draft, Monti Ossenfort has nailed it 2 years in. Big programs, premium positions. Darius, SEC champion or contenders, Missouri. Marv at Ohio State, wideout. Paris, left tackle, Ohio State. Do that again. You want
This is the guy in the draft that all of the talking heads at ESPN like act like they like watching offensive lineman film for. Like that's who this guy is this year. Everyone's like, oh, his tape is amazing. He's like,
but he's playing tackle for the most part at North Dakota State. He was a tackle. He's gonna have to convert inside because he's got short arms. He's not probably as strong as you want your tackle to be. He's
as
athletic.
Ozzy says, no disrespect to the kid. Like John.
His tape is against guys who are not going to be playing pro football.
If they took Gray Zabel 47, you know, I'd be all for it. Beautiful.
Yep, clap it up.
I think he projects as a second-round pick. That's why it's like 16th. That's just too rich for my money. And he also looks like Peter, Deadpool's friend, with that mustache. He looks like the guy, just run-of-the-mill everyman, Peter. But like, yeah, I mean, 6'5", 312. 36.5-inch vertical. Like he's impressive. He can play all four positions, but he's not the 16th overall pick in the NFL draft. He's a guy that's going to be a productive pro, just like Will Johnson. But the same debate that we had, or the same thing that we said about Mel Kiper Jr.'s pick, there are way too many talented defensive front seven guys that you could take instead of Gray Zabel. Like that would be a gigantic reach. Like, the floor is high, but the ceiling is not. And I think you could take a guy on the defensive front seven that would immediately be able to make an impact. Like, does Zabel even start the first couple of weeks?
Yeah, he would start over Evan Brown. They would make sure that the argument I've seen made is a player that we're very familiar with. In Mike, that's
AZ Cardinals is threatening to eat his MHJ jersey if they take Gray Zabel.
Mike Iupati was drafted in the top. What was it? He was the 17th overall pick for the 49ers in 2010. Okay. He was a great player for San Francisco. He was a great player who didn't get a second contract from his own team. He went to the Cardinals, had one good year, made the Pro Bowl, and then was a middling player. So you're telling me the best case scenario is we're going to take a player 16th overall that could get a second contract and he immediately falls off. I'm not doing that with the 16th overall pick. We can romanticize these guys.
Right.
You better be flipping Zach Martin. It's the same argument I had for Campbell, the linebacker from Bama. It's like you take these guys high and dick around. They have to be top 5 at their position. They got to come in and be immediate ass kickers, game changers. What's the likelihood of that happening? It's just not worth it. It is not. Stay away, Ossenfort. It's not worth it.
Well, if you look at the last couple big guard contracts. Like Trey Smith is a 6th rounder. Will Fries was a 7th rounder.
Yeah.
Robert Hunt, who got $100 million last year, he was a 2nd rounder. Like, you can find these guys. You can find guys at that position. That's why he probably profiles more as a day 2 pick anyway.
Yeah.
To take him at 16, it doesn't meet the value. If you take a guy at edge who can get to double-digit sacks, if you take, and I know the polarizing prospects because they're off the field stuff, James Pierce Jr. and Mike Green, but if you take those guys and you hit on those guys, or they're just productive edge rushers, those are guys that 5th-year contract then becomes invaluable, to where, like, if Zay Grable is just like a decent guard, you don't get much value there.
No.
Johnny, if left tackle was still a position of need and he played left tackle but still went to North Dakota State, would you be as hesitant?
No, not as much, because it's a premium position. And we
had like 34-inch arms. And yeah.
If he was a late bloomer and was dominating and went to the Senior Bowl and dominated as a left tackle, I would have no issue with that. That wouldn't bother me. It's the position coupled with the university that's a horror.
How's Cody Mock doing?
Like the redhead dude we went to Tampa.
Wasn't he an interior offensive lineman from North Dakota State?
He was. He was a specimen, man.
What was his name?
Cody Mock.
Cody Mock, M-A.
Did he start every game this year? I think he did.
Cody Mock via PFF for Tampa Bay last year. I mean, he's been good. 6'5", 302, was drafted in the 2nd round, 49th. He had a PFF grade this year, 93.5. So he's an elite player.
Wow.
But again, I mean, he's a 2nd round pick.
I think it's because I interviewed him.
Yeah.
Remember that? We were looking around. It was you and it was my first rodeo at the Senior Bowl. And you're like, Shane's like, who do you want to interview? I'm like, I want to interview that guy. And his long flowing red hair, his gut hanging out of his shirt.
Missing front teeth.
Missing his front teeth.
God, that guy's a beast. That's just how you know.
Real quick, I just want to run through the players that the Cardinals pass on to take Greg Zabel in this mock draft. Mike Green, who we don't think they're going to take, it went 17th to the Bengals. Seahawks took Loveland, Michigan tight end. Shane, that's got to make you feel good, taking a tight end. Continuing down, Cardinals pass on Kelvin Banks Jr., okay, Derek Harmon, Mikel Williams, Kenneth Grant, Josh Simmons, Samar Stewart. He's got a bunch of the guys that we like not even going in the 1st round. If there's not a consensus on these defensive linemen, move down. If there's an opportunity, move down. I don't want to just take a player at corner or guard because they're slightly a better prospect than an edge rusher or a defensive tackle. Move down. Find a way.
That's the play. But I'm sure there's a bunch of teams that want to move down as well. Yeah. Just because of that, things are all jumbled right around that area. But like Shamar Stewart looks like a guy that's going to be in the top 10, just how he's testing.
I mean, I would take Shamar Stewart and his 1.5 sacks over both those players we talked about today. I would just say, get Nick Rallis in a room with him, figure it out over this. I would rather, this is going to sound nuts, I would rather have an edge rusher who every year you could pencil in 8 to 12 sacks and never make a Pro Bowl or an All-Pro team than a guard that's a Pro Bowl guard every year at this point with the Cardinals. Give me a guy you can just count on every single year to be a disruptor, because I just feel like the guard position for the Cardinals, maybe I'm nuts, I feel like it's been good enough. It's been good enough to win games. It's been good enough to get the offensive line. I know people out there love to dog on the offensive line, and it's not elite. It's one of the best offensive lines this franchise has ever had. One of the best coached, and I know they lost their coach, but they had a streak where they didn't give up a sack for what, like 5 weeks or something?
It's like Jeremiah has Mike Green, and this might be based off intel that he has when he talks to teams, but he's got Mike Green going to the Bengals the very next pick. Why the Bengals are just because they're a dysfunctional franchise are just going to take a guy on, and the Cardinals are just going to turn their nose up at him. I mean,
well, Bo, there's a perfect example. Could you imagine taking a guard and he's just okay, and you pass on Mike Green, and Mike Green's like 15 sacks a year, and it's just like,
you got Mike Green at 17 sacks to lead the FBS, and then you got the guy behind him from BC who had 16 and a half. He's going 19th overall. The Bucks, like, those are two teams that have playoff aspirations, and the Cardinals are just like, we're going to take a versatile guard.
We got more. We got more conversation coming up. Why are the Cardinals falling in power rankings? Plus your super chats. Drop a comment. Leave a like. Drop a comment here with our friends at Monarch Money, Bo. Start managing your finances to build the life that you want. I know times are tough right now. Economy's ebbing and flowing. Monarch makes managing money simple for even the busiest lives, right? With all your accounts, people have credit cards, they've got investments, mortgages. You want to know where your money stands, and you want to do it without the hassle, okay? Track your spending, track your savings. Investments are effortless with our friends at Monarch Money, so you can focus on what matters most, making your biggest life goals a reality. Monarch Money is the finance tool people actually love. They get up, they're fired up to check it because it was named the Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025. I've got it on my phone. You should too. Again, the top recommended personal finance app by users and experts with over 30,000 five-star reviews. Again, don't be that person late in life, early in life, that doesn't know their finances, that's digging themselves in a hole. Again, get control of your overall finances with Monarch Money. Use the code PHNX at monarchmoney.com in your browser for the first half off of the year. Again, we're hooking you up 50% off. PHNX is the code, monarchmoney.com, Bo.
I love it. Downloaded the app a couple weeks ago, and it's been fantastic. I don't know what I'd do without it at this point. Also, you got to check out what's going on over at Cornbread Hemp. Cornbread is America's first ever USDA organic CBD company. They're doing it right. Their mission is at Cornbread is to improve the quality of your life with the highest quality hemp. Take out all the other stuff, right? You don't want to mess around when you're dealing with this. You don't want to mess around with your health. If you're looking for a healthier way to relieve your aches, your pains while getting a better night's sleep, who doesn't want any of that? Try Cornbread Hemp's USDA organic CBD gummies. If you don't want to deal with any of those issues like those aches, those pains, not sleeping that well at night, Cornbread Hemp is here to help and offers that first USDA organic CBD gummy in the United States. Check them out right now. Cornbread offers free shipping and backs all products with 30-day Better Life guarantee. Take Cornbread's 2-minute quiz and get custom recommendations tailored to your needs, whether it's aches, pain, sleep support, or stress release. You got to check them out. That's Cornbread Hemp /PHNX. Code PHNX for 30% off your first order. That's the good life.
Big thanks to everybody watching right now. Drop a comment, leave a like, jump in the chat if you're watching with our friends over on the Twitter streets. And again, I want to welcome all of our streaming partners. GoPHNX.com. Again, running a special right now. Become a diehard. We welcomed a ton of new diehards over the last several weeks. $36 for the entire year. Equates to roughly $3 a month. Pick up a fresh new tee from the merchandise locker. And again, how about check out our upcoming golf outing? You're not going to want to miss it. You're going to get 20% off at Dobson Ranch using the bonus code PHNX when you are a diehard. So much good stuff. Again, there it is, April 12th. The scramble to lead all scrambles, Dobson Ranch Golf Course. We know a ton of you are in the chat. Already have your foursomes lined up. It's a 2 p.m. start time. Limited edition PHNX gift pack, green jacket open, baby. Perfect. Took my dog for a walk today. Perfect golfing weather. Perfect time to do a scramble with PHNX.
Love that. Is that cactus? Is it waving at me?
I think you've had too much.
2:00 scramble too. You don't have to get up early. I'm here for that.
Absolutely. Are you here for some power rankings this early in the off season? Are you a fan of that?
Yeah, I always want to see where you stand. And NFL.com, Johnny, they had this little blurb. Arizona Cardinals. I was a little surprised to find out where they ranked.
Not very good. Listen, this was a team that I think got all the way up to top 12 status at the height last year. This year, already behind the 8 ball, they are 19th overall, dropping 2 spots. It's amazing. The Cardinals haven't lost any key pieces, have added Josh Sweat and Dalvin Tomlinson, and have dropped where's this from? NFL.com?
Yeah.
Arizona's moves paled in comparison to the Rams and the Seahawks, I guess. 49ers pale in comparison to 49ers. They also had the Niners ahead of the Cardinals. The Niners, with all of their departures, 18th. The Seahawks were 17th. And, of course, the Rams were 10th. Basically saying that the Cardinals, I have no problem with this team going offensive line in round 1 and leaning even more into the run game next season. Wow, riveting stuff. Cardinals already top 5 in rushing the last 2 years. But, yeah, we can lean even harder into the run game.
I like the first line cracks me up. The quietest team in the NFC West by far. Like that's an indictment on the Cardinals in terms of buzz. It's like the 49ers just lost their job, but hey, they're moving on to another one. Is it a better one? We don't know.
No.
Same thing goes for the Seahawks. Their wife just left them. Yeah, tough. But they're already dating someone new.
It was mutual.
It was mutual. But look, it's moves, making moves to make moves. The most active team wins, according to NFL.com. Not addressing your biggest weaknesses with a pair of really solid players on the defensive front seven and Josh Sweat and Dalvin Tomlinson. But no, everybody wants to overlook it. Like NFL.com, NFL, and all the pundits, they will refuse to quit the San Francisco 49ers, even though the writing is all over the walls. As far as they got rid of Deebo Samuel, they've got aging veterans, guys like Christian McCaffrey. We don't even know what his playing future looks like. It's iffy at best. George Kittle continues to be banged up. They're probably going to move off of Brandon Ayuk. They're a mess. Trent Williams is another year older. They're going to have to pay Brock Purdy in some capacity. It's a messy situation. They just traded their backup running back. I mean, what did the 49ers do positive in this first wave to merit them being ahead of the Cardinals? And the same thing goes for the Seahawks. Like, you can be encouraged by the Seahawks making a move to get off of Geno Smith and go give a good contract. I won't disagree with that on Sam Darnold. It's their quarterback, just 3 years, $100 million, where it's usually way more than that. But then they trade away DK Metcalf. They sign an over the hill Cooper Kupp. Being active doesn't mean, or quiet doesn't mean that they should be ahead of the Cardinals in these rankings.
Chicago Bears 16th overall. It invalidates this list completely.
Steelers don't even have a quarterback, and they're ahead of them.
What are we?
Rams are 12.
The Rams are 12. They
what?
Rams are 10.
What?
Rams are 10.
How?
Here's Rams are 10. Steelers are 15th. Bears 16th. Seahawks 17th. Niners 18th. Cardinals or Seahawks 18th or Niners 18th. Cardinals 19th.
Like, the headline to this is NFL Power Rankings: Bears 49ers rise after early 2025 free agency moves.
Who wrote that?
Eric Edholm.
Oh no, Eric. I know Eric.
49ers rise?
How? After free agent moves? What moves?
Are they?
The best move they made was not signing Joey Bosa. I was hoping they were going to sign Joey Bosa. That was the best move they didn't make.
That is rise?
I think people forget the Cardinals were as competitive as they were. Like, what were the Cardinals' non-competitive games last year? Washington, Green Bay. Those were the two notable blowouts. Was there any other games where they just didn't show up? I mean, the rest of them, they were pretty competitive. I mean, that's the Seahawks game at home was not a fun game. But for the most part, Cardinals were in every game. They dominated bad teams, and they're on the cusp right now. We've talked about it. They were a 500 team basically last year. They beat the teams they were supposed to, save for Carolina. 8 of their 9 losses were of playoff teams. Now it's attack the offseason, better talent, take you over the top. Somehow they've gone backwards. They have lost nobody of note, save for Kazir White, who they could re-sign. And it's like, actually, the Cardinals are regressing. It's like, okay, got it. Thanks for that.
The Seahawks fell 1. The Niners rose 3 spots.
Sure.
Like, they were 21st, and they rose 3 spots, and they lost an interior offensive lineman, Hufanga, who is a top safety. They lost Dre Greenlaw. They lost their top corner. They traded away Debo.
What's their reasoning in this? What's their blurb?
I think it's just that they're going to get healthier. They've got 4 picks in the top 100. Whoopity-doo, including the 11th overall. They cite 2 4th-rounders like those are going to be impact makers for the Niners.
The biggest crock of you-know-what and arrogance that I've seen for people who are rationalizing the Niners this year, Cowherd does it too, is that the Niners are going to rebound because of the picks that they have, not notifying the fact that their drafting early on has been relatively average to below average lately. I mean,
post Adam Peters and Rand Carthon, and we can trash Rand Carthon and what he did in Tennessee, but
Trey Lance.
Yeah.
Some of these recent picks that they've had, like they have how many picks? 11, 12 picks. I mean, like how many of those are going to be good players for them? How many of those are going to be good players right away? And I like
in their comp picks for guys who exited the organization that were good football players.
Yeah.
So this was their draft last year. Pearsall, who was robbed of time, obviously he was a gunshot victim. Renardo Green, the corner from Florida State. He played 17 games. He started 7. It's fine. Whatever. Could he be a starting corner? Sure. Dominic Puny, who I think we can agree is a good guard.
Okay.
Fine. Came out of the gate strong. And then, they've got Cowing and Mustafa, Isaac Garendo, like fine role players.
I think it's because they've conditioned themselves to think, oh, Ufunga and Greenlaw and all these guys they got later in the draft. Like, I mean,
the draft before that was one of the worst I've maybe ever seen. I know they started in the 3rd round. They took Jake Moody with the 3rd round pick.
How's he been? He been good?
They took a Latu. Was that Latu's brother, tight end? Like they got guys. I don't think they're going to roster in the next season.
No. I mean, they took Drake Jackson, the edge rusher from USC a couple of years ago. He's been a disaster.
Yeah.
They're an old team. They're old and slow. McCaffrey's legs are done. Brandon Ayuk can't play. They regret that contract now. I mean, they're going to try to nickel and dime you with Ricky Pearsall, Juwan Jennings, and Brock Purdy.
Speaking of old and slow, Johnny, can I make you a little happy real fast?
Yeah.
Guess who the Seahawks are bringing in for a top 30 visit right now?
Who's that?
Tyler Shuck.
Ooh. Tyler Shuck just filed for his AARP card.
He's only 2 years younger than the quarterback they just signed. That's legitimate. Yeah. He's 25 and Sam Darnold's 27.
So is Kyler Murray. I'm going to tell you right now, Tyler Shuck is Brandon Whedon 2.0. Put up fake numbers in college. Give me Jalen Milroe over Tyler Shuck every day of the week. Give me a guy who's much more toolsy, that's younger. Listen, and people are going to push back at that. That's fine. You want to take a guy who's almost 30 years old? 25 is the new 30 in the NFL. I don't want any part of Tyler Shuck. Get that away from me. If you have to talk yourself into Tyler Shuck, don't take a quarterback this year.
Yeah.
Just move on.
The biggest travesty of this is the Bears, though.
Yeah.
To go up, first off, that they were just 6 spots down. So what is that? 22nd? Should have been way lower than that. They were a terrible team last year. They lost 10 straight games. And you're going to say, oh, they had some blue-collar moves by paying big money to take on some interior offensive linemen. They took on Jonah Jackson every single dime in that contract. And then they took on Joe Thuney. Like, fine, good. Like, I'm glad you found some guys. And then they paid top dollar to a center as well. Like those are 3 spots that you don't traditionally break the bank on. And they just did that.
The Chicago Bears are one of the worst run NFL franchises of the last decade plus. And I can't wait till they take a running back 10th overall. I need that to happen. They take Genti 10th overall. Jonah Jackson tweaks a hammy in training camp. Thuney is old, and that immediately becomes a liability for them. I'm not rooting for that with our friends at CHGO. They've been through enough, but there's a reason that the Chicago Bears, when they came to Arizona last year, were the worst coach team in the NFL. Now, I know Ben Johnson can do a lot of heavy lifting. Look what Harbaugh did with the Chargers and 1 year post Brandon Staley. But, I mean, are we sure Caleb Williams is any good? Are we sure he can play? There's some skepticism around there. They passed on back-to-back years. The Chicago Bears passed on C.J. Stroud and Jaden Daniels. I mean, you don't just get over that.
But if you look at this, they've got Eagles, Lions, Commanders, Vikings, Packers, Bucks, Rams. So they've got them as the 8th NFC team. So they're just on the outside looking in as a playoff team. That's how they view the Bears after, what did they win? 5 games last year?
Well, and they're bunching up the Cardinals, Seahawks, and Niners because they don't know what to do with them. Listen.
And they put all 4 NFC North teams back in firmly in the top 15 or 16. and they didn't win a game in the playoffs last year.
Lions will regress. They lost a million coaches. The Minnesota Vikings, if they trot out JJ McCarthy, they're 9-8 team with JJ McCarthy. You can't prove me otherwise. I think the Packers are going to have a rebound year. I think they're going to win the division, and I think the Bears are going to be bad. I think that division goes back to the Packers being good and everybody else being average to below average is kind of where I'm at.
We just need like a notebook of all JV's takes.
No.
And sometimes we'll have to white out one take because he just completely contradicts it 1 week later. But we just need to keep track of all of them.
We're going to keep track of our super chats here. You guys, we got almost 1,200 people watching live. Drop a like on this show. The goal, of course, every free agent frenzy show, 500 likes, keeping you up to date on all things Cardinal football. We're trying to get the word out on our draft party. Any word on when we can announce that, Bo? Have you heard about that?
Haven't. They're keeping me in the dark over here. Shane, do you know anything?
I would say it's probably the deets are probably coming in the next week or two.
Okay.
Probably in the next week, I would say. So exciting. It's going to be fun.
Keep that Thursday night free is what I'll tell everybody.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be
Jack,
way bigger and way better.
I think we need
year.
to make a play for Friday night too. Or do we just like the friendly confines of our studio?
Do an ASU.
Let's just invite everybody here.
24 hours?
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, 24-hour, Johnny. Perfect.
Just go straight from the first round all the way through the third round. Never log off.
Nope.
Be interesting. Jackson, $4.99, getting us started here. Again, drop a super chat. We will read it. Thank you, Jackson. Looking good, my guy. I think the Cardinals will be great this year. Kyler is locked in. Roster is solid even before the draft, and I think Monti kills the draft. You're 100% right, Jackson. This is the best you feel about the roster heading into a draft in 5 years. We're not sitting here and saying like these draft picks have to save the Cardinals. Take Kenneth Grant, take Walter Nolan, take Michael Williams, like come in and be guys to contribute. But hey, come be our best player, Marvin, on offense. Hey, Darius, come save our defensive line. Those days are over, thankfully.
Richard, 199. Clancy said no Scattaboo. Johnny, both thoughts?
Clancy says no to Cam Scattaboo. I say no to Alex Clancy.
I actually need to rethink my stance on Scattaboo, knowing that that's Clancy's stance. Mine is like 47's too rich for me for Cam Scattaboo, given the roster. But you can maybe talk me into it in the late day 3 now that Clancy's made his stance clear for sure.
I'm going to tease it real fast. I've got a draft video dropping later this week.
Oh, God.
I have a draft darling going to the Cardinals of mine, but where he's going is going to shock some of you. Oh, I'm willing to be proven wrong here.
I know it is.
It was an early draft crush, and things did not go well for me, but he still found a way to my heart. Brian, $5. I have a feeling that with the defensive improving, DP will open it up, knowing that if you send the defense out after 3 and out, you're not going to give up 77 points. It's a great point, Brian. Yeah. Well thought out. You know, Bo, this was an offense that couldn't afford to turn the ball over. We saw against the Seahawks, like they turned the ball over and those became touchdowns for Seattle in that pivotal game at home.
You know what we call that, boys? It's complimentary football.
It did lack some complimentary football. It did. And the opposing team was able to accomplish it far more often. No, I think that's a great point. I think that there was a bit of a survival tactic as far as how they ran offense last year and with their conservative ways that they couldn't stand to. And I know Gannon preaches value the ball, but even more so when they were a little bit undermanned on the defensive side of the football. We'll see if they play with a little bit more urgency or aggressiveness on offense with that. Red Sea, $10. Thank you, my friend. Will Johnson is an elite prospect. He's the only non-front 7 player I'd take at 16 for us. If he was the pick at 16, especially if our defensive talent is gone, I'd be totally fine with that.
It would not be my first choice, but I can't argue with the rationale. He is an elite prospect. I actually like taking him. This is going to sound nuts. I think the caliber of football that he played at times was a higher level than Travis Hunter based off the competition. I think the competition in the Big Ten was better than the Big 12. And again, national champion, 6'2", over 200 pounds, incredibly physical. And Travis Hunter is a better prospect, but like, would anybody be shocked in 5 years if Will Johnson was a better player? Wouldn't shock me. But again, we're so locked in on this pass rush, it'd be hard for me to get around that.
Yeah. Our guy Brian, $2. Bo, Alex Clanky wants an offensive line guy in the first round. JV is positive. Is that what he's saying?
I guess.
Do you think he meant the misspelling there as disrespect to Clancy?
Yeah, I glanced down at the keyboard to see how close the K and the C were. They're not close.
They are not close. I appreciate that. I can appreciate some blatant disrespect for our guy who we're locked on.
We love Alex. I
tried to tell him. I joined him earlier this week. I tried to let him down gracefully here, but it's not the play. Like, Clancy's one of the guys. He's going to be banging the table next year on offensive line. He's going to do it every year. That's his thing. That's his bit. Not like a bit, but he's going to say, like, draft an offensive lineman in the first round every draft. That's my approach.
I mean, like, if the Cardinals defense wasn't an embarrassment rushing the passer, you could get me on board with that. Also, if you were you're not fine tuning. You have starting jobs up for grabs. I mean, like, yeah, maybe there's a left guard job to be had. Congratulations. No one's starting. If Jonah Williams is healthy, Jonah Williams is going to play. Kelvin Beachum might play. Are you drafting a right tackle that's going to play right away? Like, Bruce Arians in 2015 can get away with that when his roster is going to the NFC Championship game. And DJ Humphries is a redshirt player from Florida taken in the 20s. If you're taking a tackle or guard, they have to come in and play right away. I just feel like this. Look at the players that they're working out, meeting with, Senior Bowl guys. They're guys that are going to go on day 2 of the draft. And those are the guys. Isaiah Adams last year, they're going to take a right tackle after the first round. They want to take it in the second round. That's fine. I have no issue with that. Take a pass rusher in the first round.
There are arguably two guys worthy of on the offensive line that you take in those spots, right? Get out of Missouri and then Campbell out of LSU.
Yeah. And neither are
going to be gone. They'll be gone. And that's you lean to the strength of this, which is happens to be your biggest weakness.
Yeah.
And then you continue to work on the offensive side of football. I also think that you need to, like with Darius Robinson, start to use your top draft capital on that side of the football after using your first 2 first-round picks on the offensive side.
Like, get them Nick Rallis, before he becomes a head coach, like, have a top 5 defense. Get, like, if Kyler Murray is going to hit a wall at the end of then just get to the playoffs with the top 5 defense.
Yeah.
Reezy Baby, $5. Bo, Monti has filled out depth. Draft goal is to find 2 or 3 of edge, interior, D-line, and guard or tackle that contribute this year. I agree. And hopefully be a starter by next year. 100% agree. It's my thought process emphatically, Reezy Baby. Now, if somebody competes their ass off and beats out somebody like an Evan Brown or a Baron Browning, then you just concede and say, okay, we're going to start X rookie. But there should be no expectation. There was our argument coming into free agency. It was malpractice by Ossenfort if they didn't address a D tackle and an edge rusher of note that could come in and start and just say what everybody else is saying. Well, it's a great draft for edge and D tackles. It is. But to a point, guys, this isn't 2023 where everybody gets to start. We're trying to make the playoffs. Your moves in free agency should signal a team on the cusp of making the playoffs.
A rotational defensive front player just would make far more of an impact for a team that is on the cusp than guys that, like, you would take and you could just say, hey, this is our guard of the future. This is our tackle of the future. Like, you've set yourself in a good position to have starting caliber players on your roster that you're comfortable with. Now bolster it. Give yourself more upside. Give yourself guys that are going to help you get off the field on third down. Because they added 2 of those guys. It's still not enough. Like, what did we say about Josh Sweat the entire pre-free agencies? Like, we like Josh Sweat. He makes the Cardinals a better team. He does all the things that you want your outside linebacker to do. But if it's just Josh Sweat, that's not your solution. That's not a solution to the problem.
I mean, you make an argument outside hitting on a quarterback and a left tackle. There's not a more important position to hit on it than an edge rusher, than a true guy that can impact games in the fourth quarter on third down I mean, we say it like every other show. I can't remember the last time an edge rusher won clean on a tackle of note for the Cardinals, where it was a strip sack on a front four, rushing four. Bring that kind of football back.
Like Chandler Jones in 2021. That was probably the last time. And then, Hassan after that, didn't hear much from Chandler Jones after that. Yeah, man, it's not a good offensive line class. So to just be like, I'll take one every year. It's just like, well, you're not maximizing your picks then. You're just kind of going off of what your, approach is. You want to go in the draft. Like you're going to have all these teams in front of you, and you're going to have these edge rushers, these defensive tackles fall into your lap, and you're just going to be like, no, we want to take an offensive lineman because Kyler Murray is our main asset, and that's important. It's like, well, you can address that later in the draft.
Kyler Murray was sacked like 28 times last year. Your pass protection is good enough. I also think this coaching staff, and I know you lost your offensive line coach, but they love Justin Fry. This coaching staff has an innate ability to coach up offensive linemen. We have seen even the brilliance of Nick Rallis. You cannot coach up a pass rush with your front four. You have to have guys. You have to have dudes on the edge. I mean, and that's also a position. Edge rusher is a position, maybe not D tackle, but edge rusher, where you can get a contributor year one and have that player sneak into 10 sacks, 8 to 10 sacks. You're telling me a guard from North Dakota State's going to make that impact at pick 16?
It's going to Sanderson Ford and be like, hey, I love these brand new F-150s. These are fantastic. It's like, do you have any Toyota Tercels? Like something real reliable. No frills, just going to get me to and from work. It's like, no, I've got these great cars that I can get you a good deal on. You're going to be in position to drive this thing right off the lot and love it. And it's going to be like the car of your dreams. It's like, no, I just want steady Eddie. I just want to check a box.
There was a time where you could play it safe. That time is like not now.
Yeah.
When you start picking at the back half of the first round, like these other perennial contenders, when Baltimore took, what was it? Who's their safety of note? The year that the Cardinals traded Hollywood Brown from
Kyle
Baltimore.
Hamilton.
The year they took Kyle Hamilton and the center from Oklahoma with their 2 picks in the 20s, they earned it. They're a contender, and they took a safety and a center in the 20s. You can do that then. You haven't been given the grace to do that. You're picking top 16, top 10, take premium positions. Can't screw around with that. You're picking 27th next year or 25th. You want to take the best guard? Do that. I'm not going to push back on that because you've earned it. You've made the playoffs. You are not a guard away. You are not a backup right tackle this year and the 3rd or 4th tackle in this class away. You're not a Jihad Campbell away, friends. You're not. You want to do that in a year where you prove it. It's a lot of things. Kyler Murray prove it. Ossenfort prove it. Gannon. It's all on them this year to put it all together. And your draft pick needs to help you do that. What ceiling do you have with that pick at 16? I want everybody to ask themselves, when you look at mock drafts, when we go through the exercises, what's the best case scenario for each player that you're looking at? And subsequently, what's the worst case scenario? Because the truth is probably somewhere in between. If I sit here and say Mykel Williams is an all-pro or he's a bum, probably the truth is this is a guy who probably gets you 8 to 10 sacks. Whereas a kid from North Dakota State who played interior offensive line, he's probably just going to be the studies suggest he's going to be an average player in the NFL.
And if he's a starter, that's great. That's great. But at the same time, you're looking for the guys that you're going to be able to get yourself to the next level of this thing.
Yeah.
And just sitting there and trying to hit singles. And I think that Monti Ossenfort, his scouting department, put in enough time that they're not sitting in there trying to hit singles. I mean, there's a safety aspect to this. They don't want bustable players, right? They don't want guys that have red flags all over the place and, they're going to put themselves in a position to take themselves off the football field and not be able to help you. Like they are going to go weigh the risk and the reward there. But at the same time, like they're going to take Marvin Harrison Jr. and they're not going to, look at, well, Joe Alt really does fit like what we want to do offensively to a T, just because that's what they want their draft mentality is.
Well, Marvin was the safer pick between he and Neighbors. That stuff with Neighbors came out off the field last year. And again, you can nitpick that, but Reezy Baby in the chat, $2 super chat, tongue in cheek, saying put some respect on Tyler Lindenbaum. I love Tyler Lindenbaum. I loved him for the Cardinals that year when they were a playoff team and they needed a center.
Yeah.
Bo, you said it.
You said Oklahoma. That's
my bad. Not Oklahoma, Iowa. I was thinking, what's his name that plays for Kansas City? Creed Humphrey. I like your comment encapsulates it. You don't want to be safe, but I would almost argue be safe with premium positions, right? Defensive line, edge, a top tackle. Do that because then at the very least, you're going to be picking up that guy's fifth year. If he's a starter at a premium position, you're picking up a fifth year option and you're probably getting extended. Like Paris Johnson Jr. has never made a Pro Bowl. He's a top 3 valuable asset on the Arizona Cardinals. He's got no accolades yet because he's a left tackle.
Maybe he's an alternate.
Yeah. He was an alternate.
Brian jumping back in. Unless he's doing it twice. I don't think so. I think it's just blatant disrespect. Alex Clanky Kong, Donkey Kong's long lost relative, 15 times removed from the family, locked on questionable takes. Yeah, that is the new episode. That's the new that's the new rebranding. Go search for it wherever you find podcasts. Locked on questionable takes from Alex Clanky.
He's consistent with his take, and listen.
That's why I felt like the show that he and I did worked so well. At least it worked well for me. Is we would come up with a show idea, and he would say, "I feel like this about this topic," and I would say, "I feel the exact opposite," and then we would just talk about it.
Do the show.
Yeah, that's why this show works so well.
That's why, yes. That's why the show.
Johnny's always wrong.
No. I have a lot of people think I'm the voice of the people on this show, and Bo's the voice of the Doom Cages and the Lucettas.
And why do you think that the people
too fresh, Johnny? How dare you?
Why do you think that you have to be qualified to be an NFL GM?
Who said that?
You can't. Duval.
Oh, hey, I didn't have the heart to send this to T-Matt or to Damon today. I know we're over on the showtime, but Benjamin Albright, Sweet Baby Ben, who's a friend of the show, put out what he thinks is going to happen in the top 10 or top 5 to 7 picks. Somebody asked him about T-Mac and basically said that the league is not as high on T-Mac and the other wideout, the kid from
Burden.
Luther Burden,
as Twitter is. Not good news for T-Mac.
I mean, let him slip to 18. It's fine.
I mean, T-Mac in both the drafts we discussed for Mel Kiper Jr. and Daniel Jeremiah was not drafted high.
I didn't see him in any recent mocks. Here's what Albright's got. His best guess today: Titans, Cam Ward; Browns, Abdul Carter; Giants, Shador Sanders, even though you've got Mary Kay Cabot saying that the Browns are going to take Sanders if he's there. How about this one? This is the real kind of biggest curveball so far. Patriots taking Membo. Membo being the top tackle now reminds me that year that what's his name with the bong mask got jumped by
Hermie Tunsil.
Yeah, got jumped by what's his name for Baltimore. Jaguars.
Who's it? Ronnie Staley?
Yeah. Jaguars take Travis Hunter, and then the Raiders take Genty. It's pick 6. How about that?
Interesting.
The Raiders, I know he's been consistent in saying this.
Yeah.
There's no way they do that.
It would be crazy. It would be insane. So would the Bears consider the kid out of Carolina at 10?
No.
That would be
Ryan Poles is kind of dumb.
Ryan Poles is dumb, and
he's
Ben Johnson needs a running back. Who do they have on that roster?
Swift is Swift still on the team?
No, Swift is he?
But he's bad. He's just a bad.
No, he's horrible.
Player.
I'm like
Ben Johnson kicked Swift out of Detroit.
Yeah, I'm like the biggest DeAndre Swift hater. Every time he gets the ball, I say, "Oh, where are you running? Sideways?" He never runs upfield. It's horrible. Is Roshan Johnson still there?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah,
Ugh.
He needs a Jahmyr Gibbs kind. Too bad those don't grow on trees. Here's what he says on T-Mac. I tried to warn about the earlier media and fans are way higher than him than the league.
He is the prototypical guy that you want on your team if you're just a casual. Like not disrespectful because I want him on my team too, but like he makes unbelievable one-handed catches and he's had some really gaudy stat lines in college. But it's the little things that they're going to see in the pre-draft process they don't like as much, like his top end speed, and which I think is still amazing. Him slipping feels to me like people are overthinking it. Like look at his frame. He's 6'5" and he runs a 4.5. Like, come on, let's just draft him.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
How far would Mason Graham have to fall to jump up to get him? Like what would you do with 40s? What would you be willing to do with 47 plus to get Mason Graham?
He'd be such a, I mean, that'd be getting, I know he's not Jalen Carter, but he's like just a notch below that. I mean, you would be getting your war daddy defensive tackle for the next half decade, at the very least, Mason Graham. I mean, he's the consensus for a reason. Like you'd have to get ahead of the Niners, right? You don't want him landing at 11.
I mean, sorry, we're late in the show. Everybody drop a like because these shows go long during draft season.
I saw Steve Smith said he didn't like T-Mac. He said he takes plays off.
Steve Smith's breaking up households right now. We don't listen to him. Cardinals 16th overall. If Mason Graham fell, they just signed a bunch of D tackles. What if you did a deal with Carolina and you probably have to give up 47? I'm just saying hypothetically, you're right. 8th or 9th, whatever you want. New Orleans needs more picks.
So then you address the edge in the 3rd round then?
Yeah, or you just wait another year and you just say, I got 2 D tackles in Darius and Mason Graham that can rush the passer.
Yeah.
And then Sweaty J. And then you really hope Baron Browning does something. I would give up pick 47 for him. Wouldn't you?
Yeah, if that's what it would take, but you're still getting up 8 spots into the top 10. It'd probably be more expensive than that.
Maybe a future 3rd. I mean,
yeah.
When Kime got up from 15 to 10, and it was like a 3rd and a 5th. So
that was the Raiders and the Cardinals doing business. I don't know if that
gets done again. 2 of the elites.
Yeah, be stoic. $5. We'll end it on this super chat. If Sweat gets double teamed, who else on the D line has consistently beat one-on-ones? Great question.
Mason Graham.
Mason Graham.
Darius can when he's healthy.
Dalvin Tomlinson can move people. He gets a really solid pressure rate, almost 11.5%. So you've got more, but not enough. And that's, I think, to be Stoic's point. You still need guys who can win one-on-one.
You need an edge rusher, but the question becomes, are the edge rushers that are there, can you afford to draft because of off the field issues with Pierce and Mike Green? We're going to find out. We're going to find out how many likes we get post show. The goal 500. Drop a comment down below. Tell us, would you trade up for Mason Graham? What would you be willing to trade up? Don't tell us in the chat. Tell us in the comments down below. You guys are crushing it. We're coming off one of our biggest weeks ever. And we're just an emergency podcast away. This fanboy podcast that could, if the Cardinals ever do sign that veteran cornerback. But in the meantime, big thanks to producer Shano keeping us on point today. Bo, we're back on a football Wednesday tomorrow. We typically do a mock draft on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
I have said, I've apologized for my transgressions last week. I'm willing to concede all control to you and Damon tomorrow. How do you feel about that?
I feel that I don't believe you. I'm skeptical. Your biggest hijinks that you've pulled to date was actually the last one we did. So I've been burdened way too much believing you on this one. So I will believe it when I see it. I appreciate it. It's a nice offer. Yeah, get that off the screen. Here, I thought that you did suffer a medical emergency the last time when you dropped out of your chair to only emerge with your wife's dress on your head and some cosplay. And then you took Cam Scatterboo, 47th overall. I just feel like this is just some trust issues that it's going to take some time.
We're going to get back in the trust tree.
Some healing. And we're not even close to that.
We're in the trust tree.
We're over here. We're over here. So yeah, mock draft after Fran Duffy. Let's plan on it. And then we'll see if I get to. It's because when it's me and the people. Because I'm a man of the people, and we're gonna get that done. Well, Johnny, we're gonna silence him tomorrow on the mock draft machine here on PHNX Cardinals. Big thanks to Shane. Thanks to Damon, the grinder behind the scenes, also doing some beautiful work over there at AZ Wildcats. Check that out and subscribe to PHNX Sports. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram at PHNX_Cardinals. Talk to you guys barring emergency podcast on Wednesday.
We all silly like the mayor.